Hi there, everyone. Scott and Lars back with another anime review and analysis brought to you by Camille's Harem, a channel for novice authors by novice authors. And because writing is an adventure, it's way more fun with Santa Claus. You're not supposed to show up for like another 2 months.
I mean, it's like those memes you see of Mariah Carey, like, coming out of the dark as all of the retail workers cringe in fear. Oh man, but like, I love this fun new take on Santa Claus. I mean, I love a lot of the takes I've seen of Santa Claus in anime in general because it's coming from a culture where Christmas really isn't the same as it is in the Western world. And so it's interesting to see this take on it, especially from this author. I mean, the author, like the author created Beastars, if that says anything. But like seeing Santa Claus in this way as a familial trait that's passed on from generation to generation and is a very specific curse, pretty much, is super interesting to watch.
It absolutely is. I'll be honest. I think that the real creativity went into Sanda rather than into Beastars. I think that Sanda was kind of like her like release of like, Beastars is just so heavy. It's so much. I want to do silly stuff, and it all just gets vomited out into this manga. And yet, as we're going to explore once we dive into the analysis portion of this review, there's a lot of fascinating depth and great character setup and development already happening in this opening.
And this first episode was exactly what it needed to be. I mean, it very much reminds me of the first episode of Dandadan, where it made a splash. Like, lots of crazy things happening, a lot of the world's being laid out in front of us, and we're dropped right into the drama and like the implications that are created with Santa Claus appearing in a dystopian future where barely anybody knows what Christmas is. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need to explain what happens in the show.
Yes. So we open up the series with a fantastic line. Is a girl's butt supposed to be this cold? And with our main boy Sanda literally about to die as Fuyamura, who towers over him, this tall 5'11" girl with a butcher's knife, tries to shank him, and the only thing that saves him is his own quick reflexes and then another character popping in through the door. Hang on to that character. She's going to be important later, as will some other characters in the background. But it comes to an end. Fuyamura's all like, I will kill you by the end of the day. Well, Sanda, being a 14-year-old boy, takes this all the wrong ways. And not in the wrong way of, I have to tell everyone that something awful's going on. He takes this to one of his friends, is like, this is a sign that she's crushing on me. And his friend's all like, dude, no. Fuyamura is distraught because her best friend, Ono, who she was joined at the hip with, has been missing now for a while. They just declared her dead. She's not in a good mental space. Do not think that she's trying to get together with you. She's probably trying to murder you. And Sanda's like, everything's going to be fine. Well, everything doesn't turn out to be fine, beginning with a strange change in the weather. In this dystopian future, apparently wintertime is not cold. And so when it begins snowing on December the 25th, everyone's like, ooh, and Sanda begins to have these crazy heart palpitations. He's not feeling very well. This entire time, Fuyamura is just watching him with her dead owl-like gaze and corners him in the classroom again after PE and tries to get him to wear one of their red jackets because it's cold. You gotta be warm. He's freezing, but he refuses to wear anything red. So she pulls out the knife again. She's like, You will wear something red. Another scuffle ensues, and this time she manages to impale him with her butcher's knife. And as Santa's bleeding out, she explains that she has done all of this to reveal and break his curse, to release Santa Claus. That she has learned. Okay, he will come out when it's cold, when it's snowing. If you ask him to give a kid a gift, he will do it automatically, which is this whole eraser bit that seems rather small, but it's all, again, her being like, you're compulsive. You're compulsive towards your Santa instincts, meaning that you will always give, and Santa will always help a kid out when in need. Santa cares about children. So if I can get you to hear my needs, Santa, then you're going to help me out. But if that's not going to work, then I'm going to make sure you wear red, so that way the real Santa comes out. And as she's pontificating away, Santa's just bleeding out there on the ground. So she begins freaking out. And in the moment where it seems like Santa's actually about to die, and Fuyumura will have lost Ono and will now be labeled as a murderer, boom! Crazy anime transformation ensues. And Santa stands up laughing, ho 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 ho, and transforms into ultra buff tan Santa. This Santa has been vacationing in the Bahamas and has been hitting the gym at the same time, because this is not your typical Santa. Short beard, tanned, ripped. But sure enough, this is Santa. Santa has this Santa family curse that within him, should certain conditions be met, the Santa gene will come out and he will be forced to become Santa Claus. And we get actually a pretty beautiful moment where Sanda, as Santa, realizes what Fuyumura has been after this whole time. What her desire turns out to be real. It's valid. That Santa will hear the pleas of a child and will want to help. So Santa agrees that he's going to help Fuyumura find out what happened to Ono, but then Sanda, the 14-year-old boy, begins taking control again of his mind and of his body, shrinks himself back down to his normal size thanks to eating some sweets, and so now it's the next day. What exactly are they going to do? Transforming into Santa also kind of blew out part of the school, so they have to go to another wing. And it's just, there's a lot of strange, creepy stuff that's going on that we're going to get into more detail about. But when they're back in class, Fuyumura is like, I'm going to get you transformed into Santa again, and you will protect all the children like a good Santa would, because there's a bomb in this class. And Santa's trying to figure out what on earth he's going to do, and he can't figure out where Fuyumura has hidden the bomb. He trusts if she's willing to stab him in the chest, she will have brought a bomb somehow to school. And so he relents. He transforms himself back into Santa and then threatens to kill Fuyumura unless everyone gets out of the classroom, and then they pay him like 1 billion yen. He's like, okay, fine, everyone's out. Now will you tell me where the bomb is? And she's got the bomb strapped to herself. They start arguing. Forget that the clock is still running down. Bomb goes off, and he's able to use his incredible Santa powers to protect her, and he takes the entire blast himself. Santa's fireproof, and he swears, okay, fine then. I am going to help you find Ono. But there is a classmate who's been watching all of this. Bam, bam, bam. There you have it. There's the first crazy episode. And that review is like skimming the surface of just all the utter insanity.
Oh man, there's so much happening in this episode. It's just insane. And like, the manga did it justice. The manga is fantastic. But there's something about the visual and audio medium that brings this story to life in a way I was not expecting getting into this. Because, like, it starts out and it seems like this normal, everyday school life anime. But then the second we get to about 9 minutes in, when like Sanda gets stabbed and Silent Night starts playing, that the entire show takes on this new, like, absolutely bizarre but wonderful note that just it is probably one of the best single anime episodes I've seen this year.
That is certainly some high praise. But
Hmm.
there is a real art and beauty to using a song in a scene, in a moment where it would not normally belong. Sanda's
Yeah.
dying. And given the context of everything else going on, Silent Night is not the kind of song that you would play. And as you pointed out, Scott, earlier, was we were talking about this, Silent Night is also not associated with Santa Claus. It's a song about Jesus. And so to have this particular song play if you were just to hear someone talking about it, it sounds like it shouldn't work. Watching it, it works really well.
It changes, and it's a subtle change, but it works so well. Changes that meaning of Silent Night from like calm and peaceful to like to something morbid that like, oh, it's calm and peaceful because someone died. Like it it's this subtle change that like made it so wonderful because like I was absolutely just like shocked when it started playing, but then as the scene went and we're getting Fuyumura's backstory and like why she cares so much about Ono, it fit so well. And like she's having to panic, she's worried that like the main character's there dying on the floor, and she's like, "Oh crap, this isn't working. Like, how, how's this like gonna happen?" And she, without even realizing it, because like you're talking about, there's these different things that have to happen for Sanda to turn into Santa Claus. Like one, he's got to wear red. It's got to be snowing. There's got to be a child that's asking for a present. Like there's all of these different steps that have to be accomplished in a short amount of time for this curse to unlock. And without even realizing it, by saying Merry Christmas after she's having this huge breakdown because this isn't what she wanted, this isn't the goal she was after, and she says Merry Christmas, that he finally transforms, that it unlocks that last step of the curse. Which, like, I gotta admit, that's a super specific curse. Like, how in the hell, if you didn't know all that much about Santa Claus in the first place, because this is a dystopian society, how do you figure out all of this?
There is an answer. We will not be getting it in this season.
Of course. Oh man, but Fuyumura is like, you can see how desperate she is for this like godly mythical being to help her with her problem. And she's almost like delusional and how far she's willing to go to accomplish this. I mean, if you're willing to stab somebody to try and turn him into Santa Claus, like if you told that to a regular person, they would think you're crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean she is slightly crazy,
Yeah.
which the thing is that it might seem like it's a really hard sell to accept that Fuyumura is real. She is off her rocker, but that Santa at one point can say like, "This is just an innocent child," and this opens up a whole new can of worms to talk about this. But it is important that what Sanda is going through when he transforms into Santa is just monumental. One of the big things that's happening is that he's forced to view the world as Santa.
Hmm.
When he transforms into Santa, he's forced to see the world as Santa, even though he still remains to a certain degree 14-year-old teenage stupid Santa. He is able to through Santa's eyes acknowledge this girl has gone through a lot. And while her choices might not have been the best, her desire is a good thing. She's
Hmm.
desperate, she's lost, and Santa cares about all the kids. The whole like naughty and nice thing is there because is honestly it harkens back to an idea of The reason why you differentiate between naughty and nice is because living nicely or being nice to others is the best way to live as a person, to pass it on, to be fulfilled, to not live with so much regret and fear and doubt. Being naughty is what engenders all of that. Santa would look at a kid and be all like, even if this kid's been naughty, I as Santa can do what I can do to help this kid out, so that way the kid doesn't continue to remain on the naughty list. That's that's what's kind of happening here in this scene, in this moment. And that's why Santa agrees to help Fuyumura, and also why we get to see her completely differently, because we are meant now to sympathize with her. She's not just crazy, she's sympathetic.
They handled it so well, like with the transition, with everything happening, and we're getting super emotional moments within this first episode that are forcing us to care for these characters, like both Sanda and Fuyumura in this sense. And it's like forcibly grabbing the attention of the watcher and bonding them to this story. And it's beautifully done. Like I'm fully seeing what's happening, and like, yeah, I'm full on dragged along, and I don't care because I'm enjoying it. And that's the whole point. Like this is good media right here. I love how it turns this transformation into Santa as this like huge body horror moment for the main character, because they're like suddenly a whole lot taller, they're older, they're having to deal with the consequences of suddenly going from really young to really old all of a sudden. And like it isn't immediately apparent, but like that sudden change in state of being and sudden change of identity is very jarring for Sanda. Like you could see him trying to muddle through, try to handle what's going on, and he focuses on what he needs to focus on. Like his instincts that like come with the form are able to focus on like helping Fuyumura. But like the second he calms down off of that, he has to confront the fact that he's no longer himself, and the body he now inhabits is completely different, completely outside the realm of his normal state of being. Like, how do you process this? Like, how do you deal with all this going? And like, he gives us the answer because he's got his bratty beans, like the jelly beans he eats, and like they're there to help calm him down. Well, it calms him down enough that he turns back. But like, because the gate to like the curse has already been opened, like he can go back pretty dang easily.
Yeah. Anytime anytime that he gets red, he will transform. And
which like begs the question, are we gonna have some H2O just add water moments where like he gets a paper cut and then suddenly he's Santa Claus? Like, these are the implications, these are the questions I'm suddenly asking about this story.
And here I am, I'm like,
because you've read ahead. Yep. Oh man, there's so much potential with like the chaos you can cause with that. And like it what makes it worse is like, yeah, he's suddenly transformed, he's dealing with this change, but then Fuyumura makes it worse by like having the bomb threat, and Sanda, I mean, he's not helping his case, but like several people saw him in that form confessing to being a terrorist. And so the image of that is like in these other kids' heads are tied to this old guy taking a hostage and saying he's going to blow up the school. Like the implications of like, oh, he accidentally gets red on him, turns into the old guy, while everybody else thinks, oh crap, like the bad guy's back. there's so many levels to this. This is genius writing. Like, and this is something like I've always thought was important because like I actually started out writing more short stories than I have like longer fiction. Because like when they're teaching you how to write short stories, like all the advice they give you, they're like, you want everything to mean multiple things. You want to put in as much detail with the fewest amount of words as you can to make the short story have more depth, have more substance within 5,000 words instead of 50,000 words kind of
Mhm.
idea. And this handles it so well. There's so much going on. There's so much like character nuance that's happening in the story. That's just layered on top of each other. Like we have all these questions that are being brought out. We have all of these implications that are happening. We've got the backstories coming out and understanding why these characters are doing the things they're doing. Like it's all layered on top of each other and it's beautifully done. And I honestly, and I'm gonna say the manga does a fantastic job, but the anime has leveled it up even further.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is part of the reason I say is like, yeah, first episode wise, one of the best shows I've seen this year.
And in my so in the video I just did, I taught about may I ask for one final thing, just talking about how like the first few minutes are super strong, like they work as a fantastic opener. Sanda doesn't do quite as much within its first few
Mm-hmm.
minutes as may I ask for one final thing, but the opening episode in general cements so much stuff without having
Mm-hmm.
to like over explain itself. So like a couple of here's a few things that are going to end up being very important down the road that the first episode has already given to us, but as you've been talking about, Scott, like it's focused more on the characters because the
Mm-hmm.
mangaka and the director and writers of the anime have realized that a story lives or dies by its characters. So let's focus primarily on Sanda and Fuyamura, but you also need to, in a strong opening, you need to focus on more than just the main characters. You need to introduce what the main plot, or at least an element of the main plot, is going to be,
Mm-hmm.
as well as nail down what the atmosphere of the story is supposed to be, and give us enough context clues for a lot of other stuff so that way we feel like we can positively engage and give ourselves over to the story.
Yeah.
Within this opening episode, we have gotten some critical details about the dystopian nightmare that these people live in. Like the moment that you stop to think about just the few little clues that have been left behind, this just feels like one of the most depressing realities you could live in. Like people are just fulfilling a role. There's no joy, there's no love. The seasons are gone or are out of whack. And that's why for Fuyamura, losing someone like Ono, who is just so full of life and knew all this colorful stuff, why losing her is like losing that spark of life. And
Mm-hmm.
another thing it's been subtly introduced in this through Sanda and the body horror of Santa is the idea of what it means to grow up, grow old. Something that's going to be playing throughout this story, and it's going to come from multiple angles, which is good because you need multiple perspectives in order to pull off a theme like this. It is in a grandiose way of saying it, what is it like to grow up? Should you just like leave your childhood behind and grow up as fast as possible? Should you enjoy your youth? Can you enjoy your youth? Should you forsake growing old and forever be youthful? And you will find that there's all these different characters who have different perspectives on this bigger question that is embodied by the horrifying dichotomy that Sanda finds himself in, where whenever he's forced to be Santa, he can't help but act like Santa. So Sanda, 14-year-old boy, is now playing backseat driver to a greater power, a higher way of thinking, so to speak. But when he's then 14-year-old Sanda, he has this specter of old Santa in the back of his head, and it will cause him to really struggle to enjoy his youth. So should he then just speed up and grow up? There's some characters who will be introduced to who will say, no, you shouldn't grow up. Others who will say you should, but you should grow up smartly. And others who are all like, yeah, just give up your youth and become old already. and that's a message, while kind of big and maybe somewhat hard for people to wrap their brains around, because it's hard to put that all into just one confined sentence that's easily packaged and digestible. uh it's a theme that is lived through by so many people through generations, and especially, in my opinion, today.
Good episode. Good episode. Just kind of like pointing out part of the reason I love this story is like there's so many characters to attach to. I mean, we don't have that information about them, but there's so many of these students that we're seeing that have really unique facial structure. Like it's very interesting seeing. Like there's literally one of them that they've got a paper bag over their head. Um,
Yeah.
One of them looks like they've got like a cat smile on always. Like you get the idea. There's so many of these like interesting characters to attach to that we're gonna get to know as the story progresses. And I know some of what's happening, why they're like this, and I'm excited to see how that's revealed as the story goes. But then, like, you're talking about the dystopia future, and you've got the teacher who is the blandest looking character like I've seen in a while. And it's just like nothing really bothers this lady, does it? Like, she has dots for eyes. Like, you limit how expressive this character is when, like, so many of these other characters' eyes are a big part of how they express themselves. And you literally create the teacher that has a dot to make it so she can emote as little as possible. There's so many like fun, interesting details in this first episode.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to pick apart, and I'll come back to what I said. To what I said earlier about how there's characters in the background who will end up being important later on,
Mm-hmm.
and that I find to also be a very important aspect of the story, because you've got these 14-year-old kids, and being 14 years old, so like that would put you, if you're in American schools, it puts you smack dab in middle school, which is one of the
Mm-hmm.
worst times of anyone's life. If anyone peaked in middle school, I am sorry for you. So like
Yeah.
middle school's just weird. It's hard. I don't know about anyone else, but it was very difficult to make friends in middle school. But
Oh
but
man. And like there's okay, here's another level of depth that I wasn't even catching before until you started talking about middle school like this. But like Sanda like getting old like that, it's a metaphor for like growing through school. Middle school, like it's that time where you've got the growth spurts. It's this time where your
Mhm.
body's changing literally as it adapts to like get closer to an actual adult form. And him turning into Santa Claus like this is a metaphor for growing old. And it's just like, oh man, like I didn't even catch that until you mentioned that. That's another level of depth added on top of everything else.
Yep. But here's the thing, is that like growing old and going through middle school is rough for anyone and everyone. What is going to be great to see is how some of the characters, how some of these background characters come to the forefront, what roles they will play, how they'll be supportive, how Sanda can be supportive of them. There are some relationships which I really am curious to see how the anime handles them, because I feel like the manga really dropped the ball with a couple,
Mm.
yet those relationships become important later on. So I'm very, very interested to see if the adaptation attempts to strengthen the writing around some of those
Mm.
later chapters. Like, this is a
That makes
great
sense.
opportunity for that. So we'll have to see what gets done. Well, so that'll do it then for our thoughts of this particular review and analysis for Sanda Episode 1. If you haven't yet seen it, we highly encourage that you do. If you have, then please let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. We want to hear from you. And in the meantime, if you want to support what we do, then please Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you especially would like to support the work that we do here at Camille's Harem, check out the books that we've published. Links for them are in the description below. And until the next video, y'all, ho, 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 tschüss.
Okini.